Well, we've tore into the transmission, as you can see. Here's the top. And if you remember in my last video, it was froze up. Well, I took it apart and it's all empty. That's the inside of it. I'll show you the shafts. They were pretty rusted. My guess is moisture from the inside of that transmission. As you can remember, well, it had water in it to begin with. And now this is the inside of the transmission. Let me get a light. See if it'll lighten it up a little bit. It doesn't look bad. I mean, I don't see a lot of pitting on the gears as of right now. There sure is a lot of sludge on everything. Oops. And but I'm going to have to get in here, and I'm not looking forward to this because I'm not familiar on how everything comes apart. But yeah, we're going to have to dissect a little bit. I'd like to take that all out. Clusters and this universal joint, I got to figure out how that comes off. But anyway, I want to show you the shifting arms. I've got all three of them out and I have them cleaned up. This was the first one, and as you can see, that dark area is pitting. It's not going to hurt it, but that's where it was rusty. And this is the second one. And of course, now, I mean, I cleaned everything all up, and I'll show you what I did. And here's the, this is the reverse shifting arm. Now, I have not lubed this one up yet. What I've done, there's your retainer ball and the spring. I use this assembly lube and just clean these all up. I'll show you what I did. The grinder, I've got a pretty soft wheeled grinder here. It's, I don't know, it's probably medium. But I run that across it, and it, you know, it doesn't scratch the surface at all, but it cleans a lot of the embedded rust off. And then after I did that, I've got a buffing wheel, and so I put some of that red stuff on it, and then ran the buffing wheel across it, and that polished it up to give it the look that we're seeing right here. And now this one was the best of the three, and you can see there's not much pitting at all. There's a little spot right there, but it's not bad. I mean, this one here was probably the worst. This is the intermediate one. I don't know which one that is, but anyway, yeah, I got the retention ball out of them because I've got to slide these back through the case and then put these on and then continually slide them back into place. And so yeah, I just left the ball out for now, but I've just greased everything all up in anticipation of getting it back together. Yeah, I want to take that top and run it through the parts washer here, kind of clean the inside of that out, and anyway, then that will be done. And that will be done. I'll get started on this, take a look at some pictures, and just take your little bit at a time. I never really pulled apart a transmission before. I've watched some videos on it, on different transmissions that are similar, and so we'll try it. We'll see what happens, but it definitely needs a good cleaning. I mean, it's probably never been cleaned out, and so, but thankfully it had that real thick grease on there, and so, you know, the water that was in it when it did, after I drained it out, I mean, everything was pretty well protected. I'm just hoping there's a bearing up here, and there's one back in here, I'm sure, that I'm hoping are in good shape. I don't know what what's down here. See, there's a plug there too. I don't know. I don't want to get into taking stuff apart and then I don't have parts to put it back together with. You know, like that big Welch plug or don't know what that is, but I'm sure that plug has got to come out of there for some reason. Maybe I can just take the top assembly out. We'll see. Take that assembly out and then I can get down in there with the power washer or the parts washer here and just clean that all out with, I run diesel fuel through my parts washer. And we'll clean that all out. And you know, with diesel fuel it's like an oil, so it doesn't just clean it, you know, down to clean metal. What I do to get it really down to clean metal is I buy a whole bunch of this brake cleaner and I squirt everything down with that after I run it through the parts washer. But anyway, thought I'd just bring you along to show you what I'm into next. And once we get it into the parts washer, then maybe I can get working on some of this caked on grease and get it off the outside edge of it too. I'm going to figure out how to get this universal joint off. And anyway, I'll bring you along possibly just to show you how it comes apart. Thanks for watching. Welcome everybody back. I want to show you what I've been doing. There is the empty shell of my transmission. Still pretty gunky. The shaft, I drove it out and I think that's about as far as I want to drive it. I had to beat on it pretty good to get it out that far. These are the parts. I've cleaned everything up. The pressure, or the power parts washer. Now, I just have to I'm going to buy a couple bearings, that one right there, and this one. They're not rusty, but they feel kind of loose. Of course, I have all the grease out of them at this point, but I thought, you know, these are right down in the bottom of the transmission. Those are the two that go right down here and over here. And in order to get those out, that shaft, which is this shaft, this is the shaft, or the gears, I think this is the reverse setup on the top. And this goes on that shaft that I drove out. You can kind of see it sticking in there a little bit. But anyway, that reverse gear mounts on that and goes across there, but you've got to take that out first in order to get your main cluster out the bottom. So, you know, it's like it's apart. It's like, why not get new bearings, right? And so I'm going to scrape as much of this crud off of it as I can. I've already dug a ton of sludge out of the bottom of that stuff. A bit of it in the bucket down there. But we're going to get it as clean as we can because I just changed my fluid in my power, I'm going to call it power washer. It's a parts washer. And so we don't want to get it real dirty right away. And what I did with this to replenish the fluid is I had about 10 gallons of diesel in it before, diesel fuel, and so I got another 5 gallons, and then I got 2 gallons of paint thinner and put in with it. I believe I'm going to need more fluid. My pump kind of sounds funny. I don't think it's getting enough fluid. But anyway, we'll get that taken care of. But that really cuts the grease with that paint thinner in it. Before with the diesel, it did okay, but it just didn't clean as well. I looked at this gear when it was in the transmission, and I thought, oh man, look at Those teeth are chewed off of there. But that's the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I even went into my parts, GM parts book, and that's the gear they cite. But anyway, these gears, or bearings, are really nice. These are the round ball bearings, and this one also. And those feel really good. So I'm not going to horse around with those. There is a couple of bushings. You can kind of see them, and they look like king pin bushings almost. There's one on each end. They look good. I'm not going to horse around with them. I don't see any major wear on them, and don't know if I could get replacements. I don't know if those bushings are for the springs, but yeah, I'm not going to horse around with them. I put them on the shaft after I cleaned it and slid it on the shaft, and it seemed to be pretty tight, so I think we're going to go with it. And I don't feel any wear on that shaft at all. So, but that was a booger. That was the hardest part to get to drive that out of there. I had to whack on her pretty good on the other end. I hope I didn't bugger it up any. So we'll see when it comes to go putting it back in. But I did chip it just a little bit, it looks like, right on the end there. But yeah, just all come, I didn't want to tear any of it apart. And then once I took the top off of it, and this is the top, I don't know if I've shown this yet or not. These were all rusted in here, they're kind of dark. I have another video of it, I believe, that I'm going to put up. But anyway, that, I've got to still play with it, because this fork here is your reverse, and it's supposed to be over here in one of these notches. And I can't get it to come over because of the gear shift lever. But what I want to do is take and grind that rivet off and pull the whole guts out of it and go through it, because there's something funky with this rod, this reverse rod here. And so we're going to take a look at that. But yeah, I got those pins out. They didn't come out too bad. You know, the pins are right here. And so I got those out. And the shaft's off. That was a little testy because they were pretty rusty. But I took and put a little light on it here for you. I took and put them on a wheel. You can see that they're kind of pitted. But I don't think it's going to really hurt a whole lot. But there's no slop in them or anything of that sort in the arms. But yeah, I took them onto the wire wheel, cleaned them up first, and then I used the buffing wheel and polished them. So they turned out pretty good. But anyway, that's what we're up to at this point in time. We've got it all tore apart. This is the universal joint. And so I'm going to see if I can take that thing apart too and examine it more. I know you can replace this piece in the middle here, but I'll have to see how much play we got in it. But fortunately, I had purchased a new old stock gasket set, and it's all right there for the transmission, and I actually got the right gasket set, believe it or not. So we're set there for gaskets. It's just a matter of, once I get those bearings, we'll get those in, and I got to do it soon so I don't forget how to put this thing back together. But yeah, we're going to take this all apart, all the plugs and nuts and the bolts out, everything, and we're going to scrape all that crud off and run her through the parts washer, and we're going to paint it up nice. And I'm not going to use black. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. It's coming along. I haven't really done a whole lot more to the frame. I'm kind of stuck because in order to do anything more, if I could hook up these brakes and stuff like that, or the brake line and the shocks, but I haven't done it yet. But in order to do any more with the brake lines, I've got to set the engine in place, Transmission's got to be on it because the master cylinder mounts on the side of the transmission, and the brake, the emergency brake, everything is contingent on the not only the transmission but the bell housing. So, so we're getting close to being able to set that engine in as soon as I get this done, and we'll get it reassembled with new oil, grease, and put her back in place. And I gotta button up this motor a little bit more. So that's all we got. Starting to ramble here, guys. Thanks for watching. Well, I just thought I'd show you this before I close. It's clean, inside and out. So we're going to take and use this, clean it up even further, and yeah, what I do is I squirt everything down with brake clean, and that cleans all this diesel paint thinner off of it, and you can see it dries pretty good that way. And so we will tape everything off and paint it up. And it's even got the bow tie. Let's see if I can tip it up here. Here it is. 590, 474 is the casting number. It is a 4-speed, so I believe it's got a creeper gear, and then it has 3-speed basically. So, okay, that's all we got.